My hands are literally shaking as I type this, sitting in my car, engine off, just staring at my house. NGL, I never thought I'd be the one posting on a throwaway account about my marriage collapsing. I'm Ethan, 34, married to Chloe for 8 years. We had this perfect life, you know? But lately everything's felt off. Now I've just found this. NGL, writing this feels like I'm dissecting my own heart, piece by piece. But I need to get it all out, to understand, to see where it went wrong, because right now I'm just numb, shaking and numb. Chloe and I, we met at a church volleyball tournament. A cliche, right? But it was real. We were on opposing teams in the final, and man, she had this killer serve. We literally bumped into each other trying to block a shot, laughed it off, and ended up winning the whole thing for her team. Instant connection, like the world just clicked into place. From that day, it was a whirlwind. We were inseparable. We talked 4 hours, discovered we had a ton of shared interests beyond just volleyball, hiking, indie films, even our weird obsession with competitive board games. The physical chemistry was off the charts too. Explosive. Everything just felt right. Perfect. After a year and a half, we tied the knot. It felt like the easiest, most natural decision of my life. I was head over heels, and I honestly believe she felt the same. We built this life together. A really good one. We were both driven, had decent careers. I'm in tech support for a big financial firm, and Chloe was an operations manager at a marketing agency. We had this shared vision: save up, buy rental properties, build generational wealth. We were always on the same page, always pushing each other. Our home life was great too. Date nights, cooking together, spontaneous weekend trips. And like I said, the intimacy never faded. It was intense, passionate, fulfilling. Everyone always said we were the golden couple. TBH, I believed it. I really did. Then about a year ago, Chloe got a massive promotion. Director of Divisional Services. It was a huge deal, a big jump in responsibility and prestige. We celebrated like crazy. I was so damn proud of her. She deserved it. She worked her ass off. We talked about how this was just another step towards our goals. That's when Todd Miller came into the picture. He was hired as the new director of new accounts. Chloe told me about him initially. He's really intense, Ethan, but super smart, she said. She mentioned he seemed really focused on her department. Red flag, IDK. Not at the time. I just thought, good, he's recognizing her talent. What I didn't know then, or what I'm piecing together now, is how predatory Todd was. This guy didn't just meet Chloe, he researched her. Her LinkedIn, her public social media, probably even dug around for info on me and my job. He knew about our perfect marriage before he even got a chance to really talk to her. He was mapping it all out. He started initiating business lunches, strategic planning meetings, always just the two of them. Chloe would come home, sometimes a little late, and say, Todd really gets it, you know? He sees the big picture. She'd tell me about how he'd compliment her work, how he'd make her feel indispensable. He said my leadership was key to the whole division, Ethan. My predecessor never said stuff like that. NGL, it made me feel good for her, like she was finally getting the recognition she deserved. Then came the New York trips. Corporate strategy meetings, Chloe called them. Todd always made sure she was there, flying out with him. He'd put her in front of the higher-ups, sing her praises. Chloe's insights were invaluable, he'd tell them. He was basically love-bombing her, making her feel like the most brilliant, most essential person in the company. At first, she'd call me from the hotel, excited, telling me all about the meetings. I thought it was just the excitement of the new role. It slowly started to evolve. The conversations about Todd became more frequent. Todd thinks we should restructure X, or Todd and I were brainstorming about Y. It was always Todd and I. I remember one night she was telling me about a particularly challenging meeting. She said Todd put his hand on her knee under the table to reassure her. Just a quick squeeze, like a supportive colleague. It felt weird even then, but I dismissed it. He's just an old-school, touchy-feely boss, I told myself. A mentor. NGL, I hated that thought even as I formulated it. I started to feel this tiny, almost imperceptible shift in her, like her focus wasn't entirely on us anymore. Her phone became more private. She'd take it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom, which she never did before. The New York trips increased. What started as once a quarter became monthly, sometimes even twice a month. It's just how busy things are getting, Ethan. Todd really needs me there for these high-level discussions. And her clothes. She always dressed well, but suddenly it was next level. New dresses, expensive blouses, perfect hair and makeup every single day for work. Just trying to project the right image for my director role, babe, she'd say when I'd comment. And I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. The final straw before everything went completely off the rails was the bracelet, a small, delicate silver chain with a tiny diamond charm. For all your hard work on the Q3 project, Todd had apparently said, handing it to her in front of everyone at the office. Chloe wore it constantly. She said it was just a business gift, a sign of his appreciation. But I looked at it, and a cold dread started to spread through me. It wasn't a corporate pen. It wasn't a gift basket. It was jewelry. That's when the unease started solidifying into something colder, sharper. That bracelet, man, it was like a tiny sparkling harbinger of doom. After that, everything just accelerated. The New York trips weren't just monthly anymore. Sometimes it felt like she was gone more than she was home. And when she was home, her hours were longer. She'd come back exhausted, mentally checked out. Our evenings together, once filled with laughter and planning, became quiet, strained. We barely talked beyond surface level stuff. The intimacy, once our bedrock, dried up, fast. It wasn't just the physical side, although that was almost non-existent. It was the emotional intimacy too. She felt miles away even when she was sitting right next to me. I'd try to talk to her, to connect, and she'd just sigh, "I'm just so swamped, Ethan. My brain is fried." I chalked it up to stress. IDK, why I kept trying to rationalize it. TBH, my gut was screaming. Then there was the phone. Oh God, the phone. It became an extension of her. Always with her, always flipped screen down on the table. If it rang, she'd snatch it up, glance at the caller ID, and if it was Todd, she'd excuse herself to the other room, talking in hushed tones. "Work call," she'd mouth, eyes wide, as if I was interrupting something sacred. My stomach would churn every single time. It was a huge red flag, but I was still trying to keep my head buried in the sand. One day I was putting away laundry, folding her socks, and I found it, tucked deep inside a sock in the back of her drawer. A watch, sleek, minimalist design, definitely not cheap, and it wasn't one I'd ever seen her wear. My heart dropped. I pulled it out, and there, etched on the back, tiny but clear, "To Chloe for your relentless vision, TM, TMA Todd Miller." My hands started shaking again. This wasn't a corporate pen. This was a personal, expensive gift, hidden. I confronted her about it later that night. "What's this, Chloe?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even, but I could hear the tremor. She looked at it, her face a mask, then quickly recovered. "Oh, that? Todd gave it to me for exceeding targets. He said it was a recognition bonus." "A watch? Hidden in a sock drawer? And TM?" I pressed. She bristled. "Are you serious, Ethan? You're going through my drawers now? It's a business gift. He gave it to me openly at the office, but it's not my style, so I put it away. You're being paranoid." She was so defensive. Anytime I'd bring up Todd, even casually, she'd get this look, this fire in her eyes. "You don't understand the corporate world, Ethan. He's my mentor. He pushes me to be better. Why are you always so negative about him?" It felt like I was talking about her and not just a colleague, like she was protecting him. One night I was still up, tossing and turning, when I heard her in the living room. It was nearly 1 a.m. "Work call." Again. But this time her voice was lower, softer. I heard snippets. "Yeah, I miss you too," she whispered. "No, he's asleep. He wouldn't understand." A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the night air. I crept closer, just outside the door, and heard her laugh, a light, almost flirtatious sound I hadn't heard directed at me in months. "Soon," she said. "I promise." My blood ran cold. I retreated back to bed, pretending to be asleep when she finally came in. The dread was a physical weight in my chest. Her fitness obsession also went into overdrive. Suddenly she was at the gym, before work, after work, on weekends. And the spending on clothes for work? Astronomical. Professional image, babe. I'm a director now. But it felt like she was dressing for someone specific, someone other than me. I was living in a constant state of low-grade panic, suspicion gnawing at me. Every trip, every late night, every hushed phone call, it all fed this monster in my head. Then came the real gut punch. I was grabbing coffee with Mark, a former colleague of Chloe's who'd moved departments. We were talking about work, and he casually mentioned, "Hey, how was Chloe's last New York trip? Todd was raving about that new project." I nodded. "Yeah, busy as always." Mark chuckled. "Busy night, huh? Heard they even got adjacent rooms at the W, but ended up needing only one key card. Good thing corporate pays for the whole suite when you're a director, right?" He winked, totally oblivious. My blood drained from my face. Adjacent rooms? One key card? My mind went blank. "IDK what you're talking about, Mark," I managed, my voice sounding foreign. He just shrugged it off. Just office gossip, you know how it is. They're a real power duo." I drove home in a haze, the words echoed in my head. One key card. That night I confronted her. "Mark said you and Todd shared a room in New York." Her face went white, then crimson. "What? Mark, that's insane. That's disgusting gossip. What kind of person spreads lies like that?" She launched into a full-blown attack. "You're so insecure, Ethan. You're jealous of my success. Jealous of Todd's mentorship. It's all in your head. You're just trying to undermine me." Classic gaslighting. She flipped it on me so fast, so aggressively, I almost believed her. Almost. But the look in her eyes, the sudden panic before the rage, it didn't sit right. She kept repeating, "It's all in your head, Ethan. You're imagining things." She exaggerated her workload, talked about how stressed she was, how I wasn't being supportive. I felt like I was losing my mind. But a seed was planted, a cold, hard seed of suspicion. A few days later, while she was showering, I casually picked up her briefcase, pretending to move it. Something was sticking out from a side pocket, a crumpled receipt, a hotel bill, from a city she had been to last month for a supposed one-day client meeting. This receipt was for 2 nights. My heart hammered. This wasn't all in my head. I smoothed it out, took a picture, and put it back exactly as I found it. When she came out, I tried to sound nonchalant. "Hey, babe, how was that client meeting in Philadelphia last month? Everything go well?" She paused, then brightened. "Oh yeah, super productive. We nailed it." "So it was just the one day, right?" She hesitated for a split second. "Well, actually, I ended up booking an extra night. The client had some last-minute schedule changes. Wanted to extend, but then they canceled, so I just stayed the night, to unwind." It was too elaborate, too quick. My gut screamed. After that, I started monitoring her. Discreetly. I checked her work calendar, cross-referenced it with her travel plans. I noticed a pattern. She'd often claimed to be traveling with a female colleague, but the names were always vague, or she'd just say the team. But she'd still be flying out with Todd. My phone became my silent partner in this investigation. Every detail, every inconsistency, I started logging. I felt like a detective in my own life, and the prime suspect was my wife. That hotel receipt for 2 nights, that was the breaking point. The gaslighting, the evasions, the gut feeling, it all solidified into a cold, hard certainty. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't insecure. I was being lied to. And I needed proof. Concrete proof, because I knew with every fiber of my being that she would deny until her dying breath. This is where my skills came in handy. I'm a software developer, right? I know my way around systems. I decided to use those skills, not for work, but to unravel my own damn life. It felt dirty, invasive, but the alternative was living in this agonizing limbo. First, I targeted her work phone. She used a company-issued device, which meant the call logs were accessible through the corporate network, something I knew how to navigate, albeit carefully, without raising flags. It was late at night, Chloe was asleep, and I logged in. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped the mouse. I pulled up her call and text logs. There it was, a number that wasn't saved in her contacts, appearing dozens of times a day, Calls, texts, at all hours. My heart was pounding. I cross-referenced that unknown number. Took me less than 15 minutes. It was Todd Miller's personal cell number. Not his work line, his personal one. The blood drained from my face. This wasn't professional communication. This was something else entirely. Next, the laptop. She often used her work laptop at home, especially for those late-night work calls. While she was out at the gym one evening, I installed a discrete monitoring software. It was basic, just logging keystrokes, capturing screenshots, and crucially, recovering deleted files. I set it up, cleaned out my tracks, and waited. The wait was agonizing. Every ping, every notification from the software felt like a punch to the gut. But what it revealed was worse than I imagined. Deleted messages, snatched screenshots of video calls, files hinting at a relationship far beyond professional. My mind reeled. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash, knowing the wreckage was my life. But the biggest blow, the one that made my blood run cold, was yet to come. I was cleaning out the spare closet, a rare Saturday activity, and moved a stack of old shoe boxes. Beneath them, tucked into a forgotten purse, was a small, cheap-looking phone, a burner phone. My hands trembled as I picked it up. This was it, the smoking gun. I powered it on. No password. It was filled with texts from Todd, explicit, disgusting texts, photos. Photos of Chloe, of them, in various states of undress. My vision blurred. I almost threw up. My wife, my Chloe, with him. The messages were filled with, "I miss you, can't wait for NYC, our secret babe." It wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. They were sharing details about their lives, inside jokes, planning a future that didn't include me. I scrolled through the messages, a cold rage building in me. There were also photos of luxury hotel rooms, receipts for outrageously expensive dinners, all linked to Todd. The dates, the locations, they matched her business trips. My mind raced, cross-referencing everything I'd seen. I got onto our joint credit card statements. Before, I hadn't paid close enough attention, trusting her implicitly. Now, with a keen, desperate eye, I started sifting through charges. There they were, multiple unexplained charges for lavish dinners in New York City, always on dates when she was supposedly working, and jewelry stores. High-end, expensive jewelry stores. Not just the bracelet, but another purchase around her birthday. My hands were still shaking, but a steely resolve had replaced the panic. I found the number for one of the jewelry stores, a fancy place in Manhattan. I called, using a voice modulator I sometimes use for gaming, trying to sound like a slightly flustered, high-pitched woman. "Hi, I'm calling about a recent purchase. This is Chloe, our last name. I bought a necklace for my sister's birthday a few weeks ago, but I can't remember if I picked up the extended warranty. Can you check for me?" The sales associate, bless her soul, was helpful. Our last name. Yes, I remember. A beautiful sapphire pendant. It was quite a significant piece. And yes, the warranty was included. Your husband, Mr. Miller, made sure of it. My world tilted. My husband, Mr. Miller, not Ethan. Todd Miller. He'd bought her a sapphire pendant for her birthday. From him, under his name. The call ended, and I just sat there, staring at the wall, the phone still clutched in my hand. It was undeniable. Then, scanning her personal bank statements, I noticed a recurring payment, small but consistent, to an unnamed consultant. No business name, just a person's name or a shell company. It looked like a payoff or a way to funnel money. Another piece of the dark puzzle. I worked through the night, downloading everything. Every tent, every photo, every hotel receipt, credit card statement, call log, the burner phone's entire content. I backed it all up to a secure, encrypted drive, tucked away where no one would ever find it. My mind felt numb, but my body was buzzing with a terrible energy. As the sun started to rise, casting weak light into our living room, I finally leaned back, staring at the sheer volume of evidence. A year. A whole year of lies, of secret rendezvous, of a life being built behind my back. The betrayal was so profound, so absolute, it felt like a physical wound. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted with everything, had systematically dismantled our life, piece by agonizing piece, and I was just starting to pick up the debris. The digital evidence was crushing, a tidal wave of betrayal that left me breathless. But then, a new, sickening realization hit me. A different kind of theft, something deeply personal. My mother's ring. It was an antique diamond ring, a family heirloom that had been passed down for generations. My mom gave it to me right before she passed, saying, "Give this to the woman who truly understands and cherishes our family, Ethan." I gave it to Chloe for safekeeping when we got married, not as an engagement ring, but as a symbol of trust, of her becoming part of our lineage. She kept it in a small velvet box in her jewelry drawer, supposedly. I went to check on it. For some reason I can't even articulate now, probably just a subconscious desire to confirm anything still felt safe. The box was there, but it was empty. My heart plummeted to my gut. It wasn't just missing, it was gone. I asked Chloe, trying to keep my voice neutral, "Hey babe, have you seen my mom's ring? I was looking for it." She paused, her back to me as she was getting ready for work. "Your mom's ring? Oh, no, not recently. Are you sure you didn't put it somewhere else? You know how you are with your stuff." Gaslighting again. "No, Chloe, it was in the velvet box, in your drawer. It's not there." She turned, a flicker of irritation in her eyes. "Ethan, I'm late for work. I haven't touched it. Maybe you misplaced it during your cleaning spree last week." Her voice was sharp, agitated. The defensiveness was a familiar alarm bell. Later that day, feeling desperate, I went through Todd Miller's public social media. He had a surprisingly active, almost boastful presence. Scrolling through recent photos from a corporate event, there it was, a new signet ring on his pinky finger. And it looked exactly, uncannily like my mother's heirloom. The distinct cut of the diamond, the intricate engraving on the band, it was unmistakable. My vision swam. He was wearing my mother's ring. The symbolic weight of that act hit me like a physical blow. He wasn't just screwing my wife, he was wearing my family history on his hand like a trophy. I immediately called my Uncle George, a jeweler who'd known my mother well. I described the ring in excruciating detail, the specific imperfections, the tiny family crest etched inside. He confirmed it. "That's your grandmother's ring, Ethan, definitely unique." The confirmation was a fresh wound. The digital evidence in the stolen ring spurred me to action. I needed human eyes, independent confirmation. I hired a private investigator, a no-nonsense guy named Mike. I gave him everything, the names, the travel dates, the company names. "I need proof, Mike, undeniable proof." Mike was efficient, ruthless. Within a week, his first report landed in my inbox. Photos. Photos of Chloe and Todd, hand in hand, laughing, kissing openly in a public park in New York, getting into a taxi, leaning into each other at a fancy restaurant. Intimate, unambiguous. The images burned into my retina. It wasn't just a physical affair. They were acting like a couple, completely comfortable in public. My wife with him. My stomach lurched. And then another set of photos. Close-ups of Todd's hand. The ring, my mother's ring. Mike had even managed to get high-resolution shots that clearly showed the unique engraving. It was irrefutable. But Mike didn't stop there. He dug deeper into Todd. Turns out Todd Miller was married, with 2 young kids, a whole other family, another life Chloe was systematically destroying. My anger solidified into a cold, hard resolve. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about him preying on 2 families. Then came the financial bombshells. Mike had looked into their financial activities as much as he could without legal access. What he found was chilling. Suspicious bank transfers, changes in the ownership deeds for 2 of our rental properties. Our properties, the ones we'd worked so hard for. Mike's report laid it out. Chloe had been systematically transferring significant funds from our joint savings, from rental income, into accounts linked to Todd. And not just money. One of our smaller rental properties, a duplex we owned outright, now had Todd Miller listed as a co-owner. Another, a vacation rental, had a lien placed on it, ostensibly for business development loans taken out by Chloe, but the funds had clearly gone to Todd's shell company. She was leveraging our shared assets, our future for him, without my knowledge, without my consent. It wasn't just betrayal, it was financial fraud, theft. I sat there, surrounded by printouts, staring at the evidence, the explicit text, the hotel receipts, the photos of them kissing, the stolen heirloom ring on his finger, the bank transfers, the property deeds. It was an ironclad case, my entire life meticulously documented in a pile of damning papers. The emotional devastation was profound, a deep, hollow ache in my chest. But mixed with it was a cold, simmering rage, righteous anger. She wasn't just cheating, she was stealing. She was systematically dismantling our life, financially and emotionally, to build a new one with a married man. I started to mentally rehearse the confrontation. No shouting, no begging, just the facts, the evidence. I imagined her face when I laid it all out. The gaslighting wouldn't work this time. The denials would be futile, because I had it all, every single excruciating piece of it. The air in our living room was thick with unspoken tension, almost suffocating. I had waited until a Friday night, knowing she wouldn't have any business trips to escape to. My heart was a stone in my chest, heavy with dread and resolve. I sat her down on the couch across from me, the stack of meticulously organized evidence on the coffee table between us. I wanted this to be controlled, precise, not a shouting match. "Chloe," I started, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "We need to talk." She shifted, a nervous smile playing on her lips. "About what, Ethan? You've been so distant lately. Everything okay?" Classic. I ignored it. I slid the first batch of PI photos across the table. Photos of her and Todd, kissing in the park, holding hands, intimate moments Mike had captured. She picked them up, her eyes widening, then narrowing. "What is this, Ethan? Photoshop? Who sent you these lies? This is ridiculous. These are just business associates." Her voice rose, indignation coloring her tone. "You're being paranoid again." I just watched her, letting her gaslight herself into a corner. "Misunderstandings, Chloe? Are you really going to insult my intelligence like that?" Then I pushed the burner phone across the table. It slid to a stop right in front of her. Her eyes landed on it, and the color drained from her face. That's when her composure shattered. "What is that?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You know exactly what it is," I said, my voice still steady, chillingly calm. "It's your secret life, Chloe. With Todd." She picked it up, her fingers trembling. As she scrolled through the explicit texts and photos, her face crumpled. The bravado, the feigned outrage, melted away. She dropped the phone on the table, covering her face with her hands, silent sobs racking her body. "And this," I continued, pushing the photo of Todd wearing my mother's ring towards her, "is this also a misunderstanding, Chloe? Is my family heirloom just business, too?" She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "Ethan, I can explain. It's not what you think, not all of it." "Oh, I think I know exactly what it is," I countered, my voice still low, but with an edge of steel. "It's an affair, Chloe. A disgusting, calculated affair with a married man. You violated our marriage, our trust, our home. This is where you realize sometimes the real story isn't just about what happened, but how it happened, how easily people can deceive, and how deeply it cuts. Stick around to the end to see how life's costly choices unfold." She started to confess then, tears streaming down her face. He manipulated me, Ethan. He told me he'd leave his wife. He said he loved me. It just happened. It wasn't supposed to get this far." She tried to minimize it, frame it as a mistake, a moment of weakness, just business, that got out of hand. But I wasn't done. I pushed the financial documents across the table, the bank transfers, the property deeds with Todd's name on them. "And this, Chloe? Is this also just business? Embezzling from our joint accounts? Transferring our assets to him? That's not just an affair, that's fraud." Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. She hadn't expected me to know that. The full extent of her predicament seemed to hit her all at once. "Oh God, Ethan, please, no!" She lunged forward trying to grab my hand. "I'm so sorry. I'll end it. I promise I'll break up with him right now. I'll get everything back. Please don't do this. Please, let's fix us." She was begging, truly begging, tears and snot running down her face. "Fix us?" I asked, pulling my hand away. My voice was dangerously quiet now. "You stole my mother's ring, Chloe, a symbol of generations of family. You gave it to your lover. You not only cheated on me emotionally and physically, but you systematically stole from me, from us, financially. You lied for a year, gaslit me, made me feel crazy. There's no us to fix. You shattered it into a million pieces." She kept pleading, desperate now. "I'll give it all back, Ethan. Every penny, every property. I'll cut him out completely. Just please, don't ruin my life. Don't ruin our life." "Our life is already ruined, Chloe, by you," I stated, my voice devoid of mercy. "There's no trust left, not a single shred. And frankly, this isn't just a marital issue anymore. This is a legal one." Her eyes narrowed, the begging turning to a flicker of anger. "What are you talking about?" "My legal team is already preparing the divorce papers," I told her, watching her face crumble. "And charges for fraud. You will face the consequences for everything you have done." She started screaming then, tears turning into enraged sobs. She yelled, she cried, she tried to bargain. She blamed Todd. She blamed me for being too busy, for not understanding her needs. The whole playbook. But it was too late. I just sat there numb, watching the house of cards she'd built with her lies finally collapse around her. I stood up, leaving her amidst her tears and shattered excuses. My heart was heavy, a profound sadness settling over me. But there was also a cold clarity, a fierce determination to seek justice, to reclaim what was stolen, and to finally begin healing from this profound betrayal. That confrontation with Chloe felt like a scene from a movie, surreal and devastating. But once the initial shock wore off, a cold determination set in. There was no going back. There was no fixing us. I meant what I said. The very next business day, my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Sarah, filed for divorce. Her primary grounds were infidelity, emotional abuse, for the gaslighting and manipulative behavior, and most critically, significant financial fraud. Sarah understood the depth of the betrayal, both personal and financial. She promised to be relentless. A few days later, Chloe was served, not just with the divorce papers, but with a temporary restraining order. No contact, no attempts to communicate directly or indirectly. It was a necessary step, given her desperate pleas and attempts to fix things during our confrontation. I wasn't just divorcing her, I was protecting myself. Sarah and her team worked fast, compiling all the evidence I had painstakingly gathered. The PI reports, the explicit digital communications, the detailed financial records showing the asset transfers, the property deeds. It was an airtight case, undeniable. The sheer volume of it was staggering, a testament to Chloe's systematic deceit. Then came the corporate fallout. Sarah, with my consent, drafted a formal, meticulously worded letter to Chloe's company. It outlined her professional misconduct, detailing how she had engaged in an affair with a colleague, using company time and resources, and crucially, how she had leveraged corporate positions to facilitate financial fraud. We made sure to include the dates of business trips that coincided with their illicit activities, the business gifts that were clearly personal, and the overall misuse of her director role. The response was swift and brutal. I got a call from a friend still at her company a few days later. Chloe had been abruptly fired, terminated immediately. No severance, no golden parachute. Her career, her reputation, everything she had built crumbled in an instant. The word spread like wildfire through our shared professional and social circles. Everyone knew, or at least they knew enough to speculate. The golden couple story had a dark, scandalous ending. And Todd? He didn't escape either. An internal investigation was launched immediately after Sarah's letter landed. From what I heard through the grapevine, it was a quick affair. They found enough to terminate him too. Another life, another career, ruined. My mother's ring, thankfully, was seized from him as part of the company investigation, considered evidence related to financial misconduct. It was a small victory, but it felt good to know that he wouldn't get to parade it around anymore. While the emotional wounds were still raw, seeing the immediate, tangible consequences gave me a grim satisfaction. It wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about justice. They both deserved to face the music for what they did. The legal process for recovering the misappropriated funds and properties, however, was far more complex. Sarah assured me it would be a long, drawn-out battle. Chloe had been clever, though not clever enough. She tried to move money around, hide some assets, but my evidence trail was too clear. My lawyer moved quickly to obtain an injunction to freeze any specific assets Chloe attempted to transfer or hide, ensuring they couldn't vanish before the divorce was finalized. True to form, Chloe tried to contact me multiple times. Emails, texts from burner numbers, even trying to call my parents. Each attempt was a mix of desperate apologies, promises to change, and thinly veiled attempts at love bombing. I miss you, Ethan. I made a mistake, but I still love you. Please, let's talk for what we had. Sarah had instructed me to ignore every single one, to not engage in any way. It was hard, especially when the old memories tried to creep in, but I stayed firm. My focus was on justice, not reconciliation with a proven deceiver. The divorce proceedings began. Chloe, now without a job, facing potential criminal charges for fraud, and with an undeniable mountain of evidence against her, was under immense pressure. Her lawyer, I heard, was advising her to settle, to mitigate the damage. But I wasn't settling for anything less than what was fair, what was owed. I slowly started confiding in close friends and family. It was incredibly difficult to open up, to admit this profound betrayal. The shame, the embarrassment, the pain, it was overwhelming. But their support, their anger on my behalf was a lifeline. My sister especially was a rock. You did everything right, Ethan, she told me over and over. This is on her, not you. I knew the legal battle ahead would be long and draining, but I was committed. Justice, both personal and financial, was the only path forward. I had survived the shock, the heartbreak, the rage. Now it was time to rebuild. With Chloe's corporate world crumbling around her, it was time to turn my attention to Todd. My lawyer, Sarah, wasted no time. She fired off a demand letter to Todd Miller, not just seeking the return of my mother's heirloom ring, which thankfully the company had already retrieved, but also demanding a restitution for the financial damages he had directly benefited from, and for the emotional distress he had inflicted. She didn't mince words. Todd, it turned out, was even more desperate than Chloe to avoid further trouble. His career was already toast. His marriage was likely on the rocks, though I didn't know the full extent yet, and now he faced civil litigation. He quickly reached out through his lawyer, offering to return the ring, which was already in Orgatame's possession, a small victory, and proposing a quiet financial settlement. Just make it all go away. But I refused. Absolutely not. He wasn't getting off that easy. Tell his lawyer, Sarah, I instructed her, my voice firm, that I'm not interested in quiet. He needs to be held accountable for everything. I wasn't just pursuing justice for myself. I was pursuing it for his wife, for her kids, for every lie he perpetuated. That's when I decided to go public. Not just through legal channels, but on my own terms. I poured my heart out into a detailed post on a throwaway Reddit account, laying out the entire saga. How Chloe and I met, the perfect life we built, her promotion, Todd's predatory love bombing, the burner phone, the stolen ring, the financial fraud, the corporate firings. Every single excruciating detail. I didn't use real names, but I provided enough context that anyone in our local professional circles would instantly know who I was talking about. I just needed to tell my story, to feel heard. NGL, I expected a few pity comments, maybe some dump her advice. What I got was a tidal wave. The story went viral. Viral. Within hours, it had thousands of upvotes, hundreds of comments from people sharing similar experiences of betrayal, gaslighting, and financial infidelity. The thread exploded. It resonated with so many who had felt invisible, unheard. It was overwhelming, but in a strange way, incredibly validating. The online buzz inevitably attracted attention. Local news outlets, always hungry for a good scandal, picked up on it. They started digging, investigating the corporate aspect, the names, the public records. Soon, the thin veil of anonymity was shattered. Chloe and Todd's names were out there, linked to the viral infidelity and fraud story. The impact was immediate and devastating for them. Todd Miller's wife, already dealing with the fallout of his corporate termination and the whispers of his affair, filed for divorce. Her lawyer reached out to Sarah looking for any information that could help her case. It was a messy, painful situation, but at least she now had the truth. Another family ripped it apart directly because of Chloe and Todd's actions. Chloe faced a harsh reality. Social ostracization hit her hard. Friends, even ones I thought were solidly hers, started distancing themselves. Her support network evaporated. No one wanted to be associated with the woman who had not only cheated, but stolen from her husband and wrecked another family. The sheer public humiliation must have been immense. And TBH, a part of me, the raw, wounded part, felt a dark satisfaction. She earned every bit of it. Amidst all this chaos, I started therapy. I knew I couldn't navigate this deep emotional trauma alone. My therapist was a godsend, helping me process the grief, the rage, the betrayal, and the sheer emptiness of what was once my perfect life. It was a slow, painful process, but I finally felt like I was starting to breathe again. I also worked with Sarah to secure all our remaining rental properties, putting safeguards in place to prevent any further misappropriation. Learning from my mistakes, I made sure my assets were now fully protected. My old life was shattered, no doubt, but slowly, meticulously, I was beginning to see a path, however faint, towards rebuilding something new, something honest. The collaborative work with my legal team intensified. We were building strong, undeniable cases against both Chloe and Todd, separate but linked. The financial ramifications for them were becoming clearer. Between legal fees, restitution, and the loss of their high-paying careers, bankruptcy was a very real possibility for both of them. There were still moments of immense grief, days where the pain felt fresh and overwhelming. But then I'd read another comment on my Reddit post, a message of support from a stranger, and it would remind me that I wasn't alone, that my story mattered. I found solace in my hobbies again, hiking, playing board games with friends, anything to clear my head. I was preparing for the long road ahead, for the next phases of legal proceedings, knowing that justice, while slow, was within reach. Months passed, each one a slow, grinding battle in courtrooms and lawyers' offices. The emotional roller coaster continued, but I held firm. And finally the day came. The divorce decree was finalized. It was a tough fight, but Sarah was phenomenal. Due to Chloe's overwhelming misconduct, the fraud, the blatant affair, the sheer volume of evidence, the settlement was heavily in my favor. Chloe faced severe financial penalties. She lost most of her assets. The rental properties were fully returned to me, minus the one that had been partially transferred to Todd, which was a separate legal battle, and she was on the hook for significant legal fees. NGL, the likelihood of her filing for bankruptcy was high. She had destroyed her own financial future, along with her career. Todd Miller didn't fare much better. His wife's divorce hit him hard, stripping him of assets and saddling him with alimony and child support. My lawsuit against him, separate from the divorce, ensured he also faced substantial financial repercussions for his direct involvement in the fraud and for benefiting from our joint assets. There was no escaping the consequences for either of them. One of the most significant moments for me was when Sarah handed me back my mother's heirloom ring. It had been held as evidence, but now, finally, it was back in my possession. Holding it, I felt a wave of bittersweet emotion. It was a symbol of love, of family, now tainted by betrayal, but also a symbol of resilience, of what I had fought to protect. Its return felt like a piece of my soul was coming home. The public perception of Chloe and Todd had shifted entirely. Their love story was no more. Instead, they were widely seen as unscrupulous, deceitful individuals who had wrecked careers, marriages, and reputations. Chloe, once the brilliant, ambitious director, was now just the cheating, fraudulent ex-wife. Her attempts to rebuild her life, to find new employment, were constantly hampered by her ruined reputation and financial instability. The internet never forgets. Todd struggled too. He'd lost his family, his career, his social standing. His public image was in tatters. I didn't take joy in their suffering, not really. But I found a grim satisfaction in the fact that their choices had led them exactly where they deserved to be. I spent a lot of time reflecting on the illusion of my perfect marriage. It wasn't perfect at all. It was a fragile facade that Chloe had systematically dismantled. But I also learned profound lessons from the betrayal, about trusting my gut, about identifying red flags, about the importance of true integrity. The closure I found wasn't about revenge, it was about justice. It was about holding them accountable, about reclaiming my life, my assets, and my dignity. That felt empowering. I dedicated myself to reconnecting with myself, rediscovering old passions like photography and hiking, picking up new ones like learning to cook elaborate meals. I built new friendships, ones based on genuine connection and trust, not on a shared perfect life. One day I ran into Mark, the colleague who had innocently made that comment about Chloe and Todd sharing a hotel room. He looked uncomfortable, stammering an apology. "Ethan, man, I am so sorry. I had no idea. I just thought it was office gossip, you know? I never meant..." I cut him off, a small smile on my face. "It's okay, Mark. You just confirmed what I already suspected. You actually helped me, whether you knew it or not." His apology, though belated, felt like another piece of validation. I also made some practical decisions. I sold off a couple of the rental properties. The constant management and reminder of that period felt heavy. It was time to simplify my life, consolidate my finances, and remove anything that tied me too closely to the past. Through it all, I gained a much deeper understanding of trust and integrity, what it truly means to have a supportive, honest relationship. It wasn't about the outward appearance of perfection, but the rock-solid foundation of mutual respect and truth. And finally, I decided to move. Out of the house Chloe and I had shared, the house filled with memories, both good and now irrevocably bad. I needed a fresh start, a new environment completely free from the ghosts of my past. It was time to close that chapter for good and embrace the unknown. The whole saga from start to finish had been a devastating ripple effect. It wasn't just my life, it was Chloe's, Todd's, his wife's, their children's, our entire social and professional circles. One act of deceit, one prolonged affair, had brought down an entire house of cards, forever altering multiple futures. It's been over a year since I sat in that living room, laying out the evidence that shattered my world. Now I'm living in a new place, a smaller apartment, but it feels infinitely bigger, filled with peace instead of tension. I've fully embraced this new, independent life, finally stepping out from under the suffocating shadow of Chloe's betrayal. Therapy has been an ongoing journey, and I'm still at it. It's helped me process the deep emotional trauma, the anger, the grief, and turn it into personal growth. I understand myself better now, my boundaries, what I truly need in a relationship. I'm stronger, more resilient. As for Chloe and Todd, their consequences are long-term, irreversible. I hear bits and pieces through the grapevine, sometimes through Sarah, or even inadvertently through old mutual acquaintances. Chloe did end up filing for bankruptcy. She's struggling to find meaningful work, her professional reputation permanently stained. Todd also lost everything: his family, his career, his social standing. His divorce was messy, expensive, and public. Their love story ended up being a destructive tale of greed and deceit, a cautionary tale whispered in corporate hallways. My own financial stability is back on track. The legal battles were long, but I managed to recover a significant portion of what was taken. I learned how to be smarter, more vigilant. No longer burdened by Chloe's fraud, I'm rebuilding my future, piece by meticulous piece. One unexpected outcome of all this is that I've started using my experience to help others. I still check that Reddit thread from time to time, sometimes responding to people who are just starting to suspect something is wrong in their own relationships. I share my story, offer advice on gathering evidence, on protecting themselves legally and emotionally. It feels good to turn my pain into something constructive. I've found a profound sense of peace, not through bitterness or revenge, but by knowing I stood up for myself, I fought for justice, and I won. It wasn't about hurting them, It was about healing me. My new life is filled with rediscovered passions. I travel more, embracing spontaneous adventures. My photography is better than ever, seeing the world through a clearer lens. I've taken up woodworking, a hobby that forces me to focus, to build something tangible and lasting with my own hands. And my mother's heirloom ring? It's no longer a painful reminder of betrayal. It sits proudly on my dresser, a symbol of resilience, of family legacy, and of the strength I found within myself. I look at it now and see my mother's unwavering love, not Chloe's deceit. Learning to trust again has been the hardest part, but I'm cautiously opening myself up. I've had a few dates, nothing serious yet, but I'm learning to vet people, to listen to my gut. The days of love bombing and red flags going unnoticed are long gone. I'm looking for genuine connection, for authenticity, for someone whose words and actions align. I maintain a healthy distance from any lingering drama surrounding Chloe and Todd. My lawyer handles anything necessary. My focus is entirely on my own well-being, on building a future that is truly mine. The community, my friends and family have rallied around me, acknowledging my strength and integrity throughout the entire ordeal. That support has been invaluable. I've even become an unofficial advocate for stronger protections against financial fraud within marriages. I've reached out to a few organizations, sharing my story, hoping to raise awareness and help prevent others from experiencing what I did. Reflecting on the moral lessons, the clearest one is this: deceit always comes with a steep price. For Chloe and Todd, it cost them everything. For me, it cost me a marriage, a future I thought I had, but in return, I gained something far more valuable: a deeper sense of self-worth, an inner strength I didn't know I possessed, and a fierce commitment to authenticity. I look forward to the road ahead, to a future filled with genuine connections, authentic happiness, and true peace. I weathered the storm of betrayal and I emerged stronger. NGL, even now, after all this time, the echoes of that betrayal still resonate. Chloe and Todd, they got what they deserved and they're living with it. She's struggling financially, her career is basically non-existent, and no one in our old circles trusts her. The reputational damage is permanent. Todd's life is a train wreck, divorced, broke, estranged from his kids, and a pariah in his industry. They're both facing the profound, irreversible consequences of their choices every single damn day. Their deceit didn't just blow up my life, it incinerated their own, leaving nothing but ash. For me, the scars are real, etched deep, but they've faded into something I can live with. Therapy helped me rebuild, piece by painful piece, teaching me to trust my instincts again. I'm living a life of authenticity now, free from gaslighting and lies. The perfect marriage was a mirage, an illusion, but the strength I found in facing down that level of calculated betrayal, that's real, that's lasting. My trust issues are still there, TBH, a constant reminder, but I'm learning to navigate them, to open up cautiously to people who show genuine